All right, well, let's get back to the main story there, and that's Brexit. Tensions running high as the time runs out. Leaders on both sides now casting doubt on a potential agreement, saying the big differences remain on fishing rights.
The UK's position is always that we want to keep talking if there's any chance of a deal, but we've also got to recognise that the UK's got to be able to control its own laws. It's what people voted for, and we've also got to be able to control our waters and our fishing rights. It's obviously also what people voted for.
Nous sommes à un moment de vérité.
It's the moment of truth. We have very little time remaining, just a few hours, to work through these negotiations in a useful fashion if we want this agreement to enter into force on the 1st of January.
All right, joining us now for the details is Bloomberg's Maria Tadeo. So Barnier was warning about sort of difficult hours ahead. What's the end game?
Right, and he's there very clearly. There, moment de vérité. It's a moment of truth. There really is the final hours, and this is it. That was the message to the European Parliament. But to some extent, this is him speaking to other European officials that want to see him take that very hard line publicly. What is interesting is that behind the scenes, we actually know he's been pretty much in a meeting the whole day. There was one in the morning, one in the afternoon that happened with Barnier present, and now it's very much around the detail on the fish in terms of what they could fish, the European fishermen, how deep, how close can they get to the actual UK, and what quotas can they also get. There's this understanding, and it's a very complicated logic that says it's only when you get a deal on the fish that the Europeans are going to move on the level playing field, but the UK cannot move on the fish unless they know that the Europeans will move on the level playing field. So you're in that dynamic, which is difficult to exit.
MEPs are saying Sunday is the deadline. Does the Parliament really have much authority here? Do you think national governments would end up overriding MEPs?
Well, what they say, and to some extent you can see their logic, is that they just don't want to rubber stamp any decision. They want to have the time to read it. If you get a deal on the 25th, just to give an idea, and you vote it on 28th, it's very obvious that you haven't read it. You really haven't had time to go into the details. So they're making Monday potential deadline, or Sunday to some extent. The European countries, really the leaders, do have the final word on that. But I do want to say that the institutions and even the countries, they do see the sensitivity there, and they actually do want to provide them some time to read it. So I do hear, and I've heard this repeatedly, that perhaps what you could be is in a situation where the leaders agree to it, but they need time to ratify it. And what they do is to avoid a WTO cliff edge, is to actually grant an emergency extension of the transition period that will end, that's for sure, come May at the end of the year.